Ready to grow some cantaloupe this summer? Let's go. Hey everybody, it's Savannah Taylor, the Gardenista, your kitchen garden coach, back with another thing that it's time to get into the soil now if you want it in time for summer. And cantaloupe is definitely one of those things. All melons, I believe, really need to be grown in hot weather. Okay, they are not for cold weather. You're not going to get any action. And last summer, we grew so many cantaloupes. Oh my gosh, we could not keep up. I had cantaloupes just bumper crop. Okay. But I want to show you guys, I'm excited because they are so delicious. There's just no comparison. Cantaloupe, fresh off the vine, fresh out of your garden. You don't need a lot of space. Once again, I do specialize in growing these in small spaces. I literally grew this last summer. I grew it up my fence. Okay. But this summer, I'm going to use my grow bags because I have some space and I'm just going to let them sprawl. But if you have very limited space, I will do a follow-up video. But as you can see in this footage right here, I let them grow up my fence. And I literally just used binder clips, or you can get the plant clips to hold them onto the fence. I also have grown melons using tomato cages. Okay, as they get bigger, I grew some honeydew last summer. Here's some sugar baby melons that I also grew using a grow bag and a tomato cage. The tomato cage was like $1, and the grow bags are also very inexpensive. All available in my Amazon store. So let's get started. I just want to let you guys know we are going to be starting from seed. Okay. Now I have some in this bag. I'll show you how to do it. If you watched my previous video on growing watermelons, it's pretty much the same process. Okay. But I have some cantaloupe seeds that have already sprouted in this bag. And this is a process that I love to use because germination can be a little tricky sometimes. Depending on what kind of weather you're dealing with, germination can be kind of spotty. So, but this is a method that everything germinates. All of my seeds usually germinate. I can't even remember a time when they did not sprout. And that, for those of you who are like, what's germination? So that's to get your seeds to sprout. Okay. Now, I have here some saved seeds from my cantaloupes from last summer. And if you eat a lot of cantaloupe, or if you've ever eaten cantaloupe, you know there's a ton of seeds inside once you cut it open. We really couldn't even save all the seeds. There's just too many, but there's quite a bit here. And of course, we're not going to need all of these. You can't possibly use all of these, but I just keep them in a little cup, snap cup, Rubbermaid thing here. And I make sure I label it because when you have so many seeds, you don't want to get them mixed up. But when you cut your cantaloupe and you scoop out those seeds, what you want to do is you do want to rinse them off very carefully so that they don't all go down the drain. Use like a colander or something. But you do want to wash off all of the flesh from the melon, and then you want to let them dry before you put them in any kind of container like this, okay? Because it can mold and mildew and you'll ruin the seed, okay? They dry out in about a day. You can just lay them out on a paper towel, no problem, okay? So, but here is how this process works. So this has been above my stove. And once I show you how to do this, starting your seeds in a bag is what we call it. You want to put them in a dark, warm place. Doesn't have to be hot. You want to put it in a dark, warm place. Okay. So here's how you do it. First of all, I'm only going to use about 5 seeds, and I'll show you why. Because when these get going, uh, the roots grow all into the paper towel. And I'll show you how to separate that, because when you do take them out and you put them into pots, you don't want to tear up the roots. But I'm just taking 5 seeds. Okay. laying them on my out on my paper towel, and I laid them like doot 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 doot. I would lift it up, but then it's gonna fall, but just doot 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 doot. Okay, all right, and then we're gonna fold it over, and then I've got my favorite spray bottle here. I love it because it's like a continuous spray here. But yeah, now you're probably asking, why don't I just run this under the faucet? Well, you want this to be wet, but you don't want to have it sopping wet. Okay, you just want it to be very wet. Okay, oops, one of my seeds fell out. Okay, so I'm going to moisten it a little bit more, and then I'm going to grab a baggie. So again, okay, we just want it very wet, but we don't want it sopping wet. And I'm just going to grab a baggie. Okay, so here I have my gallon-sized baggie and a pen, and you definitely want to label your bags because this process can be very addictive. And pretty soon you might find yourself with a whole bunch of bags of sprouting seeds, and you don't even remember what you put in there. That's when you know you're a true gardener. But anyway, so we've got our cantaloupe, and what we're going to do is we're going to carefully take our seeds, and see, they all stay there. See how I have them all lined up right there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you might say, oh, but I want more than that. Well, you can definitely put more in there, but I'll show you why you don't want to put too many seeds in this one paper towel. And, mind you, one seed is going to produce more than one melon. Okay, you're going to get a whole melon vine off of one seed. Okay, and you don't have to press all the air out. I'll leave a little air in there. It's okay. And then just zip it up, right? And then this is going to go above. I keep it above my stove. If you have another place that's nice and dark and not cold, you can keep it in there. But I just keep mine above my stove. And in about, in about a week's time, you can pull it out, and you might want to set an alarm too, because sometimes you can forget, especially if you're new to this process. You might forget, and this thing will be all overgrown and molded and everything. And you don't want that. But you might want to just set a reminder in 1 week's time to check your seeds, and you will see some action. And here's what you will see. Let me close these up. These have been above my stove for 8 days. Okay, I would have done it yesterday, but I couldn't get around to, I wanted to save it to show you guys exactly what happens. And I'm going to come up close and show you guys, all this beautiful action. All right, now, I don't know if you can, I hope I'm getting it in the camera, but you can already see, all right, the sprouting action that has taken place, okay, through the paper towel. All right, so what we're going to do is, now I have here a tray, and I've already got some nursery pots with some indoor soil inside of it. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, I'm using indoor soil because I'm going to wait till it stops raining before I put them outdoors. And if you use indoor soil, you cut down on, you won't get any gnats. If you use outdoor soil, it does tend to breed gnats for some reason. So I always use indoor soil. And if you still have a problem with gnats, I highly recommend the Zevo flying insect trapper. I have one back here. If you can see, it's all lit up, and it traps flying insects. And so we really have very little issues with flying insects. It is spring, so we'll probably get a few things here and there, but not like it can be. So that's just a little side tip. Anyway, back to the cantaloupes. Okay. So we have these little nursery pots that we're going to put them in, and all of this can be found in my Amazon store. I highly recommend these gardening trays. They come several in a pack, and they're very inexpensive, and everything is reusable. Okay, when you're into gardening, you want to have as many reusable things as possible, and that's one of the just little perks of gardening. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open my thing here, my paper towel, if I can. Well, actually, I don't know if it'll let me open it. So I'm not going to, what I'll do is I'll just tear it off. because you don't want to ruin the roots. And this is why I was telling you guys, you don't want to put a whole bunch of seeds in the paper towel, because you see how those roots were going all over the place. Okay, so I'm opening up this one and you see how the sprouts are all up in there. Okay, you see how they're all up in there. And that's why you don't want to plant too many. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to tear around this little root here, just like that. Okay, and there we've got our little root. And I'm going to plant this whole thing in the soil. The paper is going to decompose in the soil, so it'll be just fine. In fact, it'll make the soil even healthier. But here's my little cantaloupe sprout. All right, so eventually I will put all of those in the soil, but I just want to show you. So here's how we do it. We've got our nursery pot. We're going to take our sprout that's got our little paper towel around it, and we're going to stick it right in here. Let me come up close so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to take it. I can make a little hole, okay, and I'm going to stick the whole thing in there. Of course, with the root part down, we want the sprout part up. And then I'm just going to cover it with the soil. It's not super rocket science, super easy, okay? And there you have it, okay? We've got our cantaloupe is almost ready to go, all right? Got a head start. Okay, you guys, so again, when it comes to growing cantaloupes, you do want to make sure that your nights are at least in the 70 degrees. Melons don't do well in cold weather, okay? It really needs to be warm. However, if it is still springy cold where you are, now is the time you can still start your seeds indoors, all right? So I'm going to keep these indoors just for a little while. We're actually going to be getting some hot weather pretty soon. So I'm not going to keep them indoors very long. However, I know even though it's a little rainy on today, the weather's going to warm up. The other thing you want to remember, now I know I talk about growing food in small spaces and having a small garden. However, these are a bit of a sprawler. And like I said before, last year I grew mine going up the fence, so that just that's a way to conserve space. And you just get some binder clips. I'll have some planter clips that you can use to, train them up the fence or your trellis, or if you want to get a tomato cage to hang them off of, you can do that. And it's just, little creative ways to save space. So, but other than that, make sure it's warm, at least 70 degrees where you are. Make sure you have at least a little bit of space. Now, this isn't, I did a window garden episode, and now this is not a window garden item, but if you got a little space, if you got a balcony, if you got a porch, you can definitely do cantaloupes. Okay. Also, let's see, you want to make sure it's warm. You want to make sure you got a little bit, at least a little bit of space. And you also want to make sure that you keep the soil, keep the nutrients in the soil. Now, I will put a link below of the video that I did for fertilizing. There's 4 natural fertilizers that I use. I use banana water, I use eggshells, crushed up eggshells, and I use rice water, and I also use compost tea. Again, I'm not going to go into all of that on this video. I will put a link down below. But for those of you who follow me, you've heard me say several times that I have a bag of fertilizer out there somewhere, but I don't really use it because I get such great results from just the natural fertilizers. And that's not to knock people who use fertilizer. If you want to use fertilizer, use fertilizer. The store-bought kind is what I'm talking about. But I just like to keep it as organic as possible. And that's not to say that there's no organic fertilizers on the market. It's just that when you have stuff at home that already works well, why not use it? And I'm telling you, my cantaloupes came out big and juicy, and I didn't have any issues, and I've been doing it that way for years. So again, I'll have a link down at the bottom. But here we go. We have our cantaloupe sprouts all down in here, all in the soil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mist these because this soil is pretty dry. Now, why am I misting the soil? Well, this is a practice for those of you who are new to gardening. You want to practice misting your seedlings. Reason why is because let's say if I had put actual seeds in the soil. Well, if you were to use a regular spritzer bottle, regular spray bottle, sometimes the soil can blow along with the seeds and you're going to mess up your germination. The seeds are going to go all over the place. Same thing with your outdoor garden. Put your hose on mist if you're planting seeds outdoors to get them to moisten that soil. Don't hose it, with the other settings, because again, like I said, you can displace the seed and the soil and everything, and then you're going to wonder why nothing's sprouting or germinating. And then, so once I just get this top part nice and moist, I am going to fill this tray with some water. I was looking for my measuring cup here. I am going to go ahead and fill this with water. Now, here's the thing about watering this way. Again, I'm going to keep this indoors probably for a day or so, but you want to be careful, especially during the summer, with having standing water. Now, once I put this outside, and I can actually put a little bit more water. Once I put this outside, and even if I were to keep it indoors, after 2 days, I'm going to change this water because like right now, the mosquitoes, you want to be careful because it does attract mosquitoes. But the chlorination in the water, the mosquitoes don't like that. And it takes about a day or so for the chlorination to burn off. So you're safe. But after a couple days, just to be safe, I always change if I have any type of standing water. You just want to be very careful because the fly catcher things, the Zevos, can only do so much. Okay. But you just, out of respect also for everyone who's living around you, want to be careful with standing water. So no longer than 2 days. After a couple days, pour it out, switch it out, put in fresh water. And that's if you have any water left, because these little suckers are very thirsty. They're going to sop up a lot of this water because this soil is dry. We moisten the top, but then it's going to drink it up from the bottom. And again, you can keep this indoors, or if you want to just go ahead and put it outdoors, that's fine. And cantaloupes are going to take about 2 to 3 months to fruit. All right. And I'll do a follow-up video on as they grow and start to mature. And I'm not going to leave you guys hanging, I promise. But I'll do a follow-up video. But this is just to get started, because now is the time to get your melon seeds in the ground if you want to have them in time for summer. Okay. All right. So that's it, you guys. If you have any questions, again, a lot of this stuff is in my Amazon store. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. There are no dumb questions. It's just like in school. If you had that question, I promise you somebody else had the same question. So feel free to ask. And this is why kitchen gardens matter, you guys. So until next time, when we grow something else, you guys take care. Bye.